Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well wherever you're dwelling on Earth. Sorry for the delay in the update. Um, Today's continuation is the second part of the eighth chapter titled Kingship of Heaven in Zecharia Sitchin's The 12th Planet. Last time we left off on page 246. Down at the bottom. The anticipation of the day of the Lord in the ancient Mesopotamian and Hebrew writings, which were echoed in the New Testament's expectations of the coming of the kingship of heaven, was thus based on the actual experiences of Earth's people, their witnessing the periodic return of the planet, a kingship to Earth's vicinity. The planet's periodic appearance and disappearance from Earth's view confirms the assumption of its permanence in solar orbit. In this, it acts like many comets. Some of the known comets, like Halley's Comet, which nears Earth every 75 years, disappeared from view for such long times that astronomers were hard pressed to realize that they were seeing the same comet. Other comets have been seen only once in human memory and are assumed to have orbital periods running into thousands of years. The comet Kohoutek, for example, first discovered in March of 1973, came within 75 million miles of Earth in January 1974 and disappeared behind the Sun soon thereafter. Astronomers calculate it will reappear anywhere from 7,500 to 75,000 years in the future. Human familiarity with the 12th planet's periodic appearances and disappearances from view suggests that its orbital period is shorter than calculated from Kohoutek. If so, why are our astronomers not aware of the existence of this planet? The fact is that even in orbit, half as long as the lower figure for Kohoutek would take the 12th planet about 6 times farther away from us than Pluto, a distance at which such a planet would not be visible from Earth, since it would barely, if at all, reflect the sun's light toward Earth. In fact, the known planets beyond Saturn were first discovered not visually but mathematically. The orbits of known planets astronomers found were apparently being affected by other celestial bodies. This may also be the way in which astronomers will discover the 12th planet. There has already been speculation that a planet X exists, which, though unseen, may be sensed through its effects on the orbits of certain comets. In 1972, Joseph L. Brady of the Lawrence Livermore Laboratory of the University of California discovered that discrepancies in the orbit of Halley's Comet could be caused by a planet the size of Jupiter orbiting the Sun every 1,800 years. At its estimated distance of 6 billion miles, its presence could be detected only mathematically. While such an orbital period cannot be ruled out, the Mesopotamian and biblical sources present strong evidence that the orbital period of the 12th planet is 3,600 years. The number 3,600 was written in Sumerian as a large circle, the epithet for the planet Shar, or supreme ruler, which also meant a perfect circle, a completed cycle. It also meant the number 3,600 and the identity Of the three terms, planet, orbit, 3600, could not be a mere coincidence. Berosus, the Babylonian priest, astronomer, scholar, spoke of 10 rulers who reigned upon earth before the deluge. Summarizing the writings of Berosus, Alexander Polyhistor wrote in the second book was the history of the 10 kings of the Chaldeans and the periods of each reign, which consisted collectively of 120 shars, or 432,000 years, reaching to the time of the deluge. Abydenus, a disciple of Aristotle, also quoted Berosus in terms of 10 pre-diluvial rulers whose total reign numbered 120 shars. He made clear that these rulers and their cities were located in ancient Mesopotamia. It is said that the first king of the land was Elorus. He reigned 10 shars. Now a shar is esteemed to be 3,600 years. After him, Elaprus reigned 3 shars. To him succeeded Emilaris from the city of Pantibiblon, who reigned 13 shars. After him, Amenon reigned 12 shars. He was of the city of Pantibiblon. Then Megalarus of the same place, 18 shars. Then Daus the shepherd governed for the space of 10 shars. There were afterwards other rulers, and the last of all Sisithras, so that in the whole the number amounted to 10 kings, and the term of their reigns to 120 shars. Apollodorus of Athens also reported on the prehistorical disclosures of Berosus in similar terms. 10 rulers reigned a total of 120 shars, which is every 432,000 years, and the reign of each one of them was also measured in the 3,600-year shar units. With the advent of Sumerology, the olden texts to which Berosus referred were found and deciphered. These were Sumerian king lists, which apparently laid down the tradition of 10 pre-diluvial rulers who ruled earth from the time when kingship was lowered from heaven until the deluge swept over the earth. One Sumerian king list known as text WB/144 records the divine reigns in 5 settled places or cities. In the first city, Eridu, there were 2 rulers. A text prefixed both names with the title syllable A or A, meaning progenitor. When kingship was lowered from heaven, kingship was first in Eridu. In Eridu, Alulim became king. He ruled 28,800 years. Alalgar ruled 36,000 years. Two, two kings ruled it for 64,800 years. Kingship then transferred to other seats of government, where the rulers were called An or Lord, and in one instance by the divine title Din-gur. I drop Eridu. Its kingship was carried to Bad Tibara. In Bad Tabara, Anmen Luana ruled 43,200 years. Anmen Galana ruled 28,800 years. Divine Dumuzi, the shepherd, ruled 36,000 years. 3 kings ruled it for 108,000 years. The list then names the cities that followed Larak and Sapar and their divine rulers. At last, the city of Shurapak, where a human of divine parentage was king. The striking fact about the fantastic lengths of these rules is that without exception, they are multiples of 3,600. And down below, here at the bottom, is the chart. I'm gonna go ahead and take a break, and you guys can take a look at what we just read from the quotations and the division of these quote unquote kings and lords and all that. Another Sumerian text, WB/62, added Larsa and its two divine rulers to the king list, and the reign periods it gives are also perfect multiples of 3,600 year Shar. With the aid of other texts, the conclusion is that there were indeed 10 rulers in Sumer before the deluge. Each rule lasted so many shars, and altogether their reign lasted 120 shars, as reported by Berosus. The conclusion that suggests itself is that these shars of rulership were related to the orbital period Shar 3,600 years of the planet Shar, the planet of Kingship. Excuse me, everyone. That Alulim reigned during 8 orbits of the 12th planet Alaugar during 10 orbits, and so on. If these pre-diluvial rulers were, as we suggest, Nephilim, who came to Earth from the 12th planet, then it should not be surprising that their periods of reign on Earth should be related to the orbital period of the 12th planet. The periods of such tenure or kingship would last from the time of a landing to the time of a takeoff. As one commander arrived from the 12th planet, the other's time came up. Since the landings and takeoffs must have been related to the 12th planet's approach to Earth, the command tenures could only have been measured in these orbital periods of shars. One may ask, of course, whether any of the Nephilim have landed on Earth could remain in command here for the purported 28,800 or 36,000 years. No wonder scholars speak of the length of these reigns as legendary. But what is a year? Our year is simply the time it takes Earth to complete one orbit around the Sun. Because life developed on Earth when it was already orbiting the Sun, life on Earth is patterned by its length of orbit. Even a more minor orbit time, like that of the Moon or the day-night cycle, is powerful enough to affect almost all life on Earth. We live so many years because of our biological clocks are geared to so many Earth's orbits around the Sun. There can be little doubt that life on another planet would be timed to the cycles of that planet. If the trajectory of the 12th planet around the Sun were so extended that one orbit was completed in the same time it takes Earth to complete 100 orbits, then 1 year of the Nephilim would equal 100 of our years. If their orbit took 1,000 times longer than ours, change page, then 1,000 Earth years would equal only one Nephilim year. And what if, as we believe, their orbit around the Sun lasted 3,600 Earth years? Then 3,600 of our years would amount to only 1 year in their calendar, and also only 1 year in their lifetime. The 10 years of kingship reported by the Sumerians and Berosus would thus be neither legendary nor fantastic. They would have lasted 5 or 8 or 10 Nephilim years. We have noted in earlier chapters that mankind's march to civilization through the intervention of the Nephilim passed through three stages, which were separated by periods of 3,600 years. The Mesolithic period, circa 11,000 BC, the pottery phase in circa 7,400 BC, and the sudden Sumerian civilization circa 3,800 BC. It is not unlikely then that the Nephilim periodically reviewed and resolved to continue mankind's progress, since they could meet in assembly each time the 12th planet neared Earth. Many scholars, for example, Heinrich Zimmern in the Babylonian and Hebrew Genesis, have pointed out that the Old Testament also carried traditions of pre-diluvial chieftains or forefathers, and that the line from Adam to Noah, the hero of the deluge, listened 10 such rulers. Putting the situation prior to the deluge in perspective, the book of Genesis, chapter 6, described the divine disenchantment with mankind, and it repented the Lord that he had made man on earth. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I had created. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not shield man forever. Having erred, he is but flesh, and his days were 120 years. Generations of scholars have read the verse, and his days shall be 120 years, as God's granting a lifespan of 120 years to man. But this just does not make sense. If the text dealt with God's intent to destroy mankind, why would he in the same breath offer man long life? And we find that no sooner had the deluge subsided than Noah lived far longer than the supposed limit of 120 years, as did his descendants Shem for 600, Arpachshad 438, Shelah 433, and so on. In seeking to apply the span 120 years to man, the scholars ignore the fact that the biblical language employs not the future tense, his days shall be, but the past tense, and his days were 120 years. The obvious question then is, whose time span is referred to here? Our conclusion is that the count of 120 years was meant to apply to the deity. Setting a momentous event in its proper time perspective is a common feature of the Sumerian and Babylonian epic texts. The epic of creation opens with the words Enuma Elish, which went on high. The story of the encounter of the god Enlil and the goddess Ninlil is placed at the time when man had not yet been created, and so on. The language and purpose of chapter 6 of Genesis were geared to the same purpose, to put the momentous events of the great flood in their proper time perspective. The very first word of the very first verse of chapter 6 is when the earthlings began to increase in number upon the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them. The narrative continues, was the time when the sons of the gods saw the daughters of the earthling, that they were compatible, and they took unto themselves wives of whichever they choose. It was the time when the Nephilim were upon the land, in those days and thereafter too, when the sons of the gods cohabited with the earthlings' daughters, and they conceived. They were the mighty ones who are of Olam, the people of the Shem. It was then, in those days, at that time, that man was about to be wiped off the face of the earth by the flood. When exactly was that? Verse 3 tells us unequivocally when the deity's count was 120 years. 120 years, not of man and not of earth, but as counted by the mighty ones, the people of the rockets, the Nephilim, and their year was the Shar, 3,600 earth years. This interpretation not only clarifies the perplexing verses of Genesis 6, it also shows how the verses match the Sumerian information 120 Shars, 432,000 earth years, had passed between the Nephilim's first landing on earth and the deluge. Based on our estimates of when the deluge occurred, we place the first landing of the Nephilim on earth circa 450,000 years ago. Before we turn to the ancient records regarding the voyages of the Nephilim to earth and their settlement on earth, two basic questions need to be answered. Could beings obviously not much different from us evolve on another planet? Could such beings have had the capability half a million years ago for interplanetary travel? The first question touches upon a more fundamental question. Is there life as we know it anywhere besides the planet Earth? Scientists know Scientists now know that there are innumerable galaxies like ours containing countless stars like our sun, with astronomical numbers of planets providing every imaginable combination of temperature and atmosphere and chemicals, offering billions of chances for life. They have also found that our own interplanetary space is not void. For example, there are water molecules in space, the remnants of what are believed to have been clouds of ice crystals that apparently envelop stars in their um, early stages of development. This discovery lends support to persistent Mesopotamian references to the waters of the sun, which mingled with the waters of Tiamat. The basic molecules of living matter have also been found floating in interplanetary space, and the belief that life can exist only within certain atmospheres or temperature ranges has also been shattered. Furthermore, the notion that the only source of energy and heat available to living organisms is the sun's emissions has been discarded. Thus, the spacecraft Pioneer 10 discovered that Jupiter, though much farther away from the sun than Earth, was so hot that it must have its own sources of energy and heat. A planet with an abundance of radioactive elements in its depths would not only generate its own heat, it would also experience substantial volcanic activity. Such volcanic activity provides an atmosphere. If the planet is large enough to exert a strong gravitational pull, it will keep its atmosphere almost indefinitely. Such an atmosphere, in turn, creates a hothouse effect. It shields the planet from the cold of outer space and keeps the planet's own heat from dissipating into space, much as clothing keeps us warm by not letting the body's heat dissipate. With this in mind, the ancient text descriptions of the 12th planet as clothed with a halo assume more than poetic significance. It was always referred to as a radiant planet, most radiant of the gods he is, and depictions of it showed it as a ray emitting body. The 12th planet could generate its own heat and retain the heat because of its atmospheric mantle in figures 115. That's just below us. I'm gonna let everyone take a minute and take a look at those. I'll be right back. Scientists have also come to the unexpected conclusion that not only could life have evolved upon the outer planets Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, but it probably did evolve there. These planets are made up of the lighter elements of the solar system, have a composition more akin to that of the universe in general, and offer a profusion of hydrogen, helium, methane, ammonia, and probably neon, and water vapor in their atmospheres, all the elements required for the production of organic molecules. For life as we know it to develop, water is essential. The Mesopotamian texts left no doubt that the 12th planet was a watery planet. In the Epic of Creation, the planet's list of 50 names included a group exalting its watery aspects, based on the epithet Asar, or watery king, who established water levels. The names describe the planet as Asaru, which is lofty, bright, watery king. Asar Uludu, which is lofty, bright, watery king whose deep is plentiful, and so on. The Sumerians had no doubt that the 12th planet was the verdant planet of life. Indeed, they called it Namtilaku, the god who maintains life. He was also bestower of cultivation, creator of grain and herbs, who causes vegetation to sprout, who opened the wells, apportioning waters of abundance, the irrigator of heaven and earth. Life, scient- life scientists have concluded evolved not upon the terrestrial planets with their heavy chemical components, but in their outer fringes of the solar system. From those fringes of the solar system, the 12th planet came into our midst, a reddish, glowing planet, generating and radiating its own heat, providing from its own atmosphere the ingredients needed for the chemistry of life. If a puzzle exists, it is the appearance of life on Earth. Earth was formed some 4.5 billion years ago, and scientists believe that the simpler forms of life were already present on Earth within a few 100 million years thereafter. This is simply much too soon for comfort. There are also several indications that the oldest and simplest forms of life, more than 3 billion years old, had molecules of a biological, not a non biological origin. Stated differently, this means that the life that was on Earth so soon after Earth was born was itself a descendant of some previous life form, and not the result of the combination of lifeless chemicals and gases. What all this what all this suggests to the baffled scientists is that life, which could easily evolve on Earth, did not in fact evolve on Earth. Writing in the scientific magazine Icarus in September of 1973, Nobel Prize winner Francis Crick and Dr. Leslie or- Orgel or Orgel advanced the theory that life on Earth may have sprung from tiny organisms from a distant planet. They launched their studies out of the known uneasiness among scientists over current theories of the origins of life on Earth. Why is there only one genetic code for all terrestrial life? If life started in a primeval soup, as most biologists believe, organisms with a variety of genetic codes should have developed. Also, why does the element molybdenum play a key role in enzymatic reactions that are essential to life when moly- molybdenum is a very rare element? Why are elements that are more abundant on Earth, such as chromium or nickel, so unimportant in biochemical reactions? The bizarre theory offered by Crick and Orgel was not only that all life on Earth may have sprung from an organism from another planet, but that such seeding was deliberate, that intelligent beings from another planet launched the seed of life from their planet to Earth in a spaceship for the express purpose of starting the life chain on Earth. Without benefit of the data provided by this book, these two eminent scientists came close to the real fact. There was no premeditated seeding. Instead, there was a celestial collision. A life bearing planet, the 12th planet, and its satellites collided with Tiamat and split it in two, creating Earth of its half. During that collision, the life bearing soil and air of the 12th planet seeded Earth, giving it the biological and complex early forms of life for whose early appearance there is no other explanation. If life on the 12th planet started even 1% sooner than on Earth, then it began there some 45 million years earlier. Even by this minute margin, beings as developed as man would already have been living upon the 12th planet when the first small mammals had just begun to appear on Earth. Given this earlier start for life on the 12th planet, it was possible for its people to be capable of space travel a mere 500,000 years ago. And that does our 8th chapter, which was titled The Kingship of Heaven of Zecharia Sitchin's The 12th Planet. I hope everyone's liking the reading the story so far. Just a reminder, after we finish the book, we're going to go ahead and dive into it, given the information that our ancestors left for us. With that being said, I want to thank you all. I appreciate every single one of you. And please be safe out there, everyone, and remain calm. They're so desperately clinging to us, being so divided on so many things that really don't matter. With that, I love you all. Stay safe, and thank you. Bye.